Ladies and gentlemen, American Jerry and Bulldog Nation, I have the great, distinct honor of interviewing a friend of mine today. He is probably the only person that I know in the tri-state, hell, maybe in the country, as a lawyer who, like me, is conservative, pro-Trump, but yet we fight for the little guy against the man. Robert, I don't know anybody else that's like that.
Oh, there probably are some, Eric, but I don't know any off the top of my head either.
But Robert Croskery, thank you. And first, tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, American jury, as I like to say, a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a retired Army officer. I was in the infantry to start with and in special operations. I went to law school at the University of Cincinnati. Go Bearcats. I am a proud member of many organizations, including the West Point Society of Cincinnati, including the Military Officer Association, and an officer in several of those. And I'm also the past president of the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick.
Well, we love that.
Okay.
Now, what is by the way, my Granny Crippen Staples' name was Patterson, Lucy Patterson. What was it that you did in the Army? What was your career?
Well, to start with, I ran a tow platoon. A tow is it's an anti-tank weapon where you shoot something from a long distance away, 3,000, 4,000 meters, and it takes out the tank that is on the other side. And generally speaking, a tow weapon is operated out of a mechanized infantry division or an armored division, and a tow platoon is generally the only platoon in a single brigade that does that. It's very technical, and it's a tough platoon to run because you have to have three systems up and running. You got to have the hydraulics up and running, you have to have the communications up and running, you got to have the mechanicals. So it was hard to keep all those tanks running, but we did it.
We came to meet in a strange way because I was always referring employment cases to a woman named Melinda Nicely.
Yes.
And I never knew until like a year or so ago that was your wife. So you two practiced law together.
We did. In fact, when I was on Army duty, I got activated after 9/11 and spent several years in the Army, got enough for my retirement. She ran the law office, and she was probably better at it than I am. Melinda's very smart. She was at the top of her class. She was a lawyer at Taft, Stettinius, and Hollister before she saw the light, came to work for me.
Good.
And she also worked at a place called Clopay Garage Doors. She was the assistant general counsel there.
Oh, my goodness. You got to have some brains. Didn't you? You finished pretty top in your class, too, didn't you?
I was the top of my class as well, Eric, yeah.
I was not the top of my class. Now, listen, tell before we get to why we're here, what is your law practice? I want to plug your law practice. What does your law practice consist of?
Well, I'm licensed in 4 states, Tennessee, Ohio, Kentucky, and Florida. And my law practice consists of helping the little guy primarily, a lot of small businesses. The businesses that your listeners would probably have heard about would be Rozzi. We represent the Rozzi Company. And we I've represented Mark Mandel Brown on several cases. Represented Dr. Rick Abramson, who is an eye doctor and a very good one on many cases. But primarily,
he's a big patriot.
He is indeed a big patriot. In fact, most of the people that I support are big patriots because since I run my own law practice, Eric, I get to pick and choose who my clients are.
That's right. That's right. Okay, we are here. I created an event called Patriots Day Freedom Fest. And you have created a website called Patriots Dream, correct?
PatriotDream.com.
PatriotDream.com. We need to put that on the screen here. PatriotDream.com. So this is why we're here. I want you to plug PatriotDream.com and what's PatriotDream.com all about and what's your vision for it, why you did it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, PatriotDream.com is a dream that I've had for many years. There's the third verse of America the Beautiful, which is one of the greatest songs ever written, is, "Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years." And it goes on, "Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears." But that phrase stuck with me. Mm-hmm. And so when we built our cabins in Tennessee, one's our residence, one's our rental, the rental was called Patriot Dream. And I said to myself, after a certain president got elected, one way or another, or installed, as you may say, that this country is really in desperate straits right now. We need an immediate turnaround. And Donald Trump is the key to getting it turned around. There's so many things going wrong. We've got wars all over the globe that we should not have had to deal with at all if we had had Trump still in office. We have raging inflation. We have an attack on women's sports. We've got an attack on your pocketbook. Every single listener is getting mugged and getting pickpocketed. In fact, that's the next article that's going to appear on my blog. So what Patriot Dream website is a collection of two things. First, it is a collection of patriots coming together. We have a National Patriot of the Month, and we have a nominated Patriot of the Month. The National Patriot of the Month is somebody picked by me in consultation with my friends and associates. The first one, which we just started this site to celebrate the Normandy landing on June 6th, the first one is Harriet Tubman, who was a very, very important part of the Republican movement in the Civil War to eliminate slaves.
By the way, I watched that movie, Harriet, and I like learning about history I didn't really know a ton about. I was blown away. I knew Harriet Tubman helped underground slaves, but when I found out that she basically led an army, I mean that battle that she fought, and then what she did in New York and everything. I mean, I was blown away. I can tell you right now, Harriet Tubman is truly an American hero.
Well, not only was she an American hero in war, she's an American hero in peace.
Yes, she was.
She founded a retirement home, one that she eventually retired to, and died. And she had
she was a badass.
She was a fantastically.
To escape slavery and keep going back into the South to get more slaves.
She risked her life 17 times, going back over and over again.
Unbelievable.
And she was like public enemy number one back then.
But she was your first one.
She was the first one that we nominated.
Well done.
Now the second one will come out next month, and everybody will love the second Patriot of the Month. That is the Patriot of the Month that I'm choosing.
Okay.
Now, there's also one that is chosen by the site readers of Patriot Dream, and that one is one that's nominated. So since I didn't have any readers yet, I nominated my grandpa, Grandpa Tex, who fought in World War II, and his wife, Mildred Fulkerson, who was she was a star in her own right. She played the organ for the church. She supported all the kids while he was away fighting the war. And one of the great stories about that is that the children got together and read the Christmas story and sent it in a recording form to my grandfather's unit. And they played it in his ship over and over again during the Christmas season so that the sailors could hear something of the children speaking. So anyway, that nominated Patriot of the Month will come from those that look at the website.
But I take it then that your vision of patriotsdream.com is to be a platform for you to articulate your thoughts about our country, as well as encourage others to be patriots and honor those patriots in the way that you do.
Well, that's exactly right. And it's a collection of a lot of articles that I have written over the years. The next one is going to, as I said, be the mugging and pickpocketing of the American taxpayer. The title may change a little bit. I'm writing one called The Ukrainian Finger Trap, which will appear pretty soon. I wrote a long one on the Trump verdict.
Let me share with you, because I'm the only person in the damn country that I'm aware of that talked about this, the Ukrainian issue. I lose my mind over the fact that Joe Biden let it happen. And when you think about the carnage, the cost, the collateral cost of what's happened in Ukraine, because we all know if Trump was president, it wouldn't have happened. And the reason why it wouldn't happen is Putin wouldn't have tested Trump. But even Joe Biden, if he wanted to, he could have done things to stop it happening. All you heard out of the Biden administration over Ukraine was, it's going to happen, he's going to invade, instead of, Vladimir, don't do it. we're putting in tanks on the border. We're doing a no-fly zone. In other words, it's peace through strength all the time, every time. Joe Biden and NATO could have done things to stop it from happening. Instead, they just sat back and let it happen. And the cost of a war is always worse than the cost to prevent a war. Am I right or am I wrong? Because nobody talks about the fact Joe Biden didn't do anything to stop it from happening.
Actually, he made it happen, Eric.
Yeah, you're right.
And here's how he made it happen.
Taunted Putin.
Taunting Putin was one thing, and don't do it doesn't do a doggone thing.
Right, don't do it.
But what he did was this. Putin's concern was that Ukraine would get into NATO. And an analogy of that is when Russia put missiles in Cuba.
Right.
You recall Kennedy responded forcefully.
Right.
There was they actually stopped it through strength. Kennedy stopped it through strength. Now, what Biden should have done is say, we don't need Ukraine in NATO. NATO is a buffer for Russia. But the reason why he didn't say that is because Ukraine has been a laundering operation for money for a whole lot of politicians, including his son, by the way.
Right.
You remember that whole sordid story.
You hit the nail on the head because it would have been so easy to just say, hey, we're not gonna, we don't need Ukraine in NATO.
Correct.
Because you know what? Even though a country's not in NATO doesn't mean it wouldn't receive NATO protection.
Correct. And here's the other part.
So he could have went to Zelensky and said, you know what, we don't need you, NATO. All we're going to do is provoke a damn war, and he's going to invade your damn country. So just drop the NATO crap already. I agree with you.
Yeah. The thing is, we have the ability to protect any country we want.
Right.
But we have the obligation to protect a country that's in NATO.
Right.
And in Ukraine, about a big strip of the eastern part of Ukraine, is the Donbass region, is really Russia in a sense. Everybody there speaks Russian.
You got to be a little careful about that because that's what Hitler used to go in a few about Czechoslovakia.
What you have to say is that he was using that as a pretext. He always had the ability to use that as a pretext. He would not have done it had Trump been in the office.
No.
And had Biden not showed himself to be such a feckless fool in the way he dealt with Afghanistan.
Our country's paid a heavy damn price with Joe Biden.
We have paid a heavy price. Hamas would not have attacked Israel on October 7th of last year had it not been
North Korea wouldn't be doing what they're doing. China wouldn't be doing what they're doing in Taiwan.
So the whole world is on fire, and it's on fire because we elected or installed the wrong guy.
Remember Joe Biden says, America's back! America's back! America's back! Like he was, oh, God, I loathe the man. Hate is too weak of a word for me with Joe Biden. I loathe this man.
Well, I loathe the people that are running him because
I loathe them too.
He's a doddering old fool that doesn't know where he is half the time, thinks sometimes he's running for senator.
What do you think they're going to, what drug do you think they're going to use for tomorrow night?
There's a certain classification of drugs that have a pretty good short-term effect. I think they're probably the same ones they use for the State of the Union address.
Right.
And I think he'll also have the questions in advance. And
no doubt about it.
And I think there are also going to be really softball questions on him.
Right.
In spite of that, he's deteriorating.
Joe, if you could come back as a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
Well, what's your favorite ice cream? Something like that. But no, it won't be that obvious. But they will be softballs. They're going to concentrate on his strengths, and they'll perceive his strengths to be abortion and the war on democracy, so expect a lot of questions on those. They're not going to talk very much about his accomplishments because he hasn't accomplished anything.
What was it like going to the United States Military Academy? I mean, that's history right there, man.
I can tell you about it. It's living in an historical place, and I'm one of the few people that can say this. When I was there, it was really tough during the years I was there.
What 4 years were you there?
But I was joyful. I was in the class of '82.
Okay.
But the thing that I want to emphasize is the chapels. There's an article on PatriotDream.com that talks about the chapels of West Point and ties them into the cadet prayer. The cadet prayer is probably one of the most powerful prayers ever written, and it's an immense prayer that has great things in it. But one of the things it has is help me to choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong, and never to be content with the half-truth when the whole can be won. That's exactly what America's up against right now. We have a war that comes half-truths from people that are in power. And those half-truths are, in fact, the devil's strongest word. Because if you say, you know, I love you, you should be able to do whatever you want, that's false. Tough love is what we need. If somebody has a problem with gender dysphoria, which used to be a mental illness, you need to help them. You don't help them by the things we're doing.
We're so messed up. I thought about this, and I brought this up on my show the other day. We're in Pride Month, and the thought occurred to me. Why in the hell would a country, any country, celebrate gay, transgender, LGBTQ, all those alphabets, celebrate it month long, even a day, but a whole month? Why? Why would why would that group of people receive a month of celebration? And now, in the backdrop of they're all on the same page, Democratic Party, corporate world, and everything else. Nobody dares stands up to it. But it's insanity. It's like you're gay. Okay, fine. You want to dress up? Dress up. Why would we have a month of celebrating? Think about all the things that we could have a month celebration for, my friend, that we don't have a month celebration for, but we have a month to celebrate that crap.
Well, I actually think that what we should do is and this has been proposed, we should take Juneteenth, which was actually something that came out of Texas. It was a general that declared the freedom of the slaves in Texas. We should take that, join it up to the 4th of July, and have a pride, 2 weeks or so, where we talk about the pride that you can have in all things American. And by the way, there are a lot of really patriotic gay Americans. I got nothing against gay people.
No.
About 10%.
But why have a month celebrating? It's insane.
We should have a couple of weeks celebrating America.
Right.
We should start it June 19th and take it to July 4th.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, and if we do that, it makes sense. Another article that I'm writing, I am working on, is called Pride and Prejudice. And it explores this whole issue. I'll give the subtitle a little later. But what Pride and Prejudice looks at is how America has destroyed its moral fabric through elevating the wrong things and how we're going to get back from it. And it all comes down to, number one, tough love, but number two, common sense.
Yes.
We've lost common sense. The people that are teaching our universities, the professors, don't have common sense. They can't change the oil in their car. They can't do anything with their hands. If you look at the people that support Trump, it's the people that build. It's the people that make things. It's the people that want America to be successful and are not living in these pseudo-intellectual bullshit arenas of others. So.
The people that attack Trump, especially within the Republican Party, those few that do that, like the Mitt Romneys of the world, it cracks me up that George Bush, 43, and company, Romney, McCain, followed him, our standard bearers. They couldn't connect into the rank and file American that represents the MAGA movement like Donald Trump does. And it drives those people insane that they can't do it. And I always felt like saying, like the Karl Roves of the world say, Karl, your guys weren't able to do what Trump did. What's your issue with it? And their issue is they don't control him. They don't get to control Donald Trump. But it's really fascinating what Trump has done with those individuals that you just described.
Well, the institutions of America that are in power, that control the levers of power, are all behind Biden, not because they think he's worth anything.
I call them the American Communist 10. Corporate America, Silicon Valley, Democratic Party, the Hollywood, the music industry, the sports industry, the media. I mean, there's 10 groups that's who's with Biden.
Correct, and they're not dumb. They're actually very smart, but they're smart in an evil way.
Well, George Soros isn't dumb; he's just evil.
Exactly. They're smart in an evil way.
Right.
They want Biden to remain in power because they're controlling him,
Right.
and they're getting the country transformed the way they want to through Biden.
Isn't it scary, the power of Joe Biden, Susan Rice, Barack Obama, the head of each of these federal agencies who are basically free? And what they don't realize is, and this is what these Democrats are all about, can you imagine the deals, the contracts, the money laundering that's coming out in law? And we're lawyers. Can you imagine the law firm contracts to get freaking issued to these people? Contracts for this, accounting contracts, contracts for security, contracts for this. And what they do is they take our tax dollars and they hand it over to these woke organizations and these woke people and these progressive people. And they don't do squat with it. Then we don't get squat for it. Then they turn around. For example, nobody talks about this. Joe Biden's administration has paid on the contracts, which our government was obligated for the people that don't have to build the wall. In other words, they've paid the money, but the wall hasn't gotten built. But they had to pay them the money. So these companies got to sit back and say, well, this is great. We've been paid our contract, and we don't have to do squat.
And
It's insanity.
he also sold off pieces of the wall. He also sold off pieces of the wall. And now, all of a sudden, he's pretending to reverse course. The biggest lie you're going to hear from the Democrats in this election is, well, there was this bipartisan deal. A bipartisan deal came up there, and this bipartisan deal was to protect the border. Baloney. Baloney.
Yeah.
What that bipartisan deal was a couple of Republicans that didn't think about what they were doing.
Like 10 Republicans.
And the deal would bring in 2,500 immigrants a day before anything happened.
Yeah.
And that's way more than we had under President Trump. And it could have been solved with an executive order anyway. Now, then Joe Biden issued this fake executive order that has not altered anything at the border.
No.
It's a big pretense.
Look how bad they fight the states who want to protect their border. Look what Joe Biden's administration has done fighting Texas. I mean, it's crazy. All right. I thank you so much for coming in. It's patriotsdream.com, patriotsdream.com. Jacob Barton, I want to link patriotsdream.com up.
Patriot Dream, Eric.
Patriot Dream.
Singular.
Patriot
Dream.
Patriotdream.com. Jacob, I want to link it all up on our sites so we can cross promote.
And we would love to get some people to nominate their Patriots of the Month. So your family,
there you go,
friends, that kind of thing.
If you want to nominate a Patriot of the Month, they should go to patriotdream.com and do so.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.